Bishop Oscar Romero is called the long view. It helps now and then to step back and take the long view. The kingdom is not only beyond our efforts, it is beyond our vision. We accomplish in our lifetime only a tiny fraction of the magnificent enterprise that is God's work. Nothing we do is complete, which is another way of saying that the kingdom always lies beyond us. No statement says all that could be said. No prayer fully expresses our faith. No confession brings perfection. No pastoral visit brings wholeness. No program accomplishes the church's mission. No set of goals and objectives includes everything. This is what we are about. We plant seeds that one day will grow. We water seeds already planted, knowing that they hold future promise. We lay foundations that will need further development. We provide yeast that produces effects beyond our capabilities. We cannot do everything, and there is a sense of liberation in realizing that. This enables us to do something and to do it very well. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way, an opportunity for God's grace to enter and do the rest. We may never see the end result, but that is the difference between the master builder and the worker. We are workers, not master builders, ministers, not messiahs. We are prophets of a future not our own. Okay, maybe seated. That is absolutely one of my all-time favorite prayers, because it really points out the things that we can accomplish in church and what we can't accomplish in church. And there's no program that is the most fabulous program on earth that's going to achieve and accomplish everything we want it to. So that's really what that prayer refers to. We're going to talk about a subject, obviously, that is very important in the life of Catholics, and that is communion, the reception of communion. Everything we do in a Catholic church circles around the Eucharistic table, the Eucharistic altar. It is one of our great assets. I think it is obviously what separates us from all other Christian denominations, and that we believe that when we celebrate Mass, which is a reenactment of the Last Supper, that when Jesus identifies the bread as his body, the wine in his blood, we believe that that change that takes place through the course of the Eucharistic prayer, that becomes the body and blood of Christ. There are other Christian denominations, when they have a communion service, they are just reliving what Jesus Christ did with his disciples in the upper room. So they're having just bread, they're participating in just wine, but they don't have that emphatic belief that that becomes the body and the blood of Christ. So we're going to talk about the key word, the word that the church uses to describe the change of bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ, is this word right here. Transubstantiation. Let's just say that together. Transubstantiation. That is absolutely everything. That's the word that every Catholic, once they acquire a certain age in their life, every Catholic should not only know that word, but know what that word means. And so that's what we're going to talk about this evening. Now, that word is based upon philosophy. Now, in the church, a lot of what we do in a church is faith. Faith is believing in something without having it proven to you. So if I could prove to you any article of faith, it no longer becomes an article of faith, because faith is to believe in something without having it proven to you. So if you prove something, you move that away from faith into reality, into that which can be proven. So transubstantiation, changing the bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ, that becomes an article of faith. What we can try to do is attempt to explain it, but we cannot prove it. So we attempt to explain this change by using philosophy. Now, this transubstantiation is based upon the philosophy of St. Thomas Aquinas. In his book Summa Theologica, It was written somewhere around 1550 AD. Now, the philosophy of St. Thomas Aquinas is based upon the philosophy of the Greek philosopher Aristotle. Aristotle existed 480 BC. Now, was Aristotle a Christian? The answer to that question is no, because he existed 480 BC. He was around centuries prior to Christ. But Aristotle definitely had an interesting Christian flavor to his philosophy. Aristotle believed that everything, as he talks about the creation of the world, and how did all of this stuff get started? Now, we give God the credit. God always was, God always will be. God got the entire world started. Everything starts with God. Big Bang Theory, whatever it might be, but God is the one that gets the credit for the world, the universe, the Milky Way, where we live and how we live. Aristotle believed, and he doesn't use the word God, but he used the word prime mover. And his philosophy, he believed that something got everything started. He doesn't identify it as a God, but he identifies it as a prime mover. So he definitely has this God-like flavor to his writings. Now, Aristotle also said something very interesting, and this is where the word transubstantiation is based upon: accidents and substance. Now, accidents. He believed that everything on the face of this earth has up to 9 accidents to describe what something is, and everything has one substance, the soul. The soul is something. So every one of us here have our accidents, how we can describe each other or ourselves. Our accidents are our weight, our height, our size, our shape, our color, our hair, our texture. All those things are our accidents. So when you sit down with the police sketch artist, you're trying to put together a composite of someone you notice rob a store, and he's going to write all this stuff down. What you're explaining to him are the person's accidents. You're trying to explain to the sketch artist what this person looks like. They're externals. That's all you know, they're externals. What you don't know is what their soul looks like. The soul is the part that you cannot see. That's true for all of us. So we all have a soul. Now, just in life, for those who are married and for those, probably all of us at one time were young, but you remember when you're young and you see someone, you're attracted to someone. Initially, we are attracted to someone by a look, because most people have a look that they favor. So you see someone in high school and college, and you kind of like the look of that person, so you're saying to yourself, no, how am I going to get him to maybe go out with me? Because you're attracted by the externals, by the accidents. So when you finally make an arrangement for a date, sometimes within the first several minutes of that date, you begin to see the person's soul. You begin to see what they're really made out of. And every so often on a date, you say to yourself, what? This is going to be one long night. I don't want to be cruel. And I promised for this person a movie and a dinner. Well, I hope it's a short movie. And the dinner I'll eat quick, and then I'll drop her off in front of the door and say, yeah, we'll call each other one day, and I'll get out of there as fast as I can. Because what you see is the soul. You saw a glimpse into what makes that person who they are. Now, what does that mean as we get older in life? You know, I think one of the great gifts is to be with someone at the moment they take their last breath. I don't think there's anything greater than being with someone, watching someone as they're taking their last breath. You can actually see the church teaching. The church teaches that we are body and we are soul. So basic Christian teaching, Catholic teaching is this, is that the body is corruptible. The body stays here on the earth. It's the soul that we're always concerned about. I do everything I can, hopefully, to live a good life because I'm concerned about my soul. Where will my soul go when I take my last breath? We'll go to heaven, we'll go to hell, we'll go to purgatory. where's the soul going? I know where the body's going to go. And so I'm not concerned about the body. It's going to stay right here. It's just going to rot and decay. It's what it boils down to. We're concerned about the soul. So you try to keep your body in good shape. Maybe exercise or watch what you eat, or every so often you say to yourself as you approach New Year's Day, well, I definitely have to cut back on some of the fatty foods. I'll cut back on the chips, the potato chips, the chicken wings. I just want to make sure I'm healthy. So for what reason? So you can live on this earth as long as you can, so that your soul has a place to reside, and it resides in your body as long as you live. Now, when you're with someone, at the moment they die, you can actually see it. It just doesn't get any better than being with someone at that point. Now, obviously, it stays in your head. But you're holding on to their hand, and you're looking, and maybe they're breathing laboriously, and you're looking, you're saying, I think that's their last breath. And then they go for another one. But then when they actually take their last breath, and you say that was their last breath, then you're able to conclude, you're looking, you're saying, I think that last breath was now their last breath. And you look, and you can actually see or feel the soul separating from the body. Because when you call up the funeral director and they come out to the house, especially if the person passed in the house, if they pass in the hospital, eventually it's time for you to leave. And as you leave, you're saying what to yourself? The part I won back, the part that I really loved about this person, was their soul that is gone. When you go to the funeral home, when you walk up to the casket of your mother or father or loved one or a friend, and you walk up to the casket, we identify each other by our accidents. That's what the person looked like. So you walk up, yeah, that's Bill. That's what Bill looked like. But when you're standing next to the casket, there is the huge part of their body is missing, and that's their soul. Now, the soul is who we are. Think about it. Our body is what we look like. The soul is the part you can't actually touch, but it is our voice, our disposition, our attitude, our character, how we respond to things, how we treat other people. All those things you really just can't put in a box and say this is a person's soul. It's just who makes you who you are. So you're really lucky if, as you're dating different people and you're finally going to select the one you want to marry, what are you really looking for in that person? You're looking for the soul. And so you run across people every so often, they'll say, I married my soulmate. I married a person that has everything about them that I always wanted and I love. So many times in life we move away from the externals because we keep going for the externals and we see a soul we don't like, and then you say to yourself, that's why opposites attract. And then what you're really looking for when you begin to mature is the soul and not the external. So everything has a soul. Again, the soul is something you cannot touch. You can't see the soul. So the host at Mass, the round host, the communion, according to Aristotle, affirmed by St. Thomas Aquinas, the host also has the accidents. So it's round, it has a certain thickness, it has a certain color, has a certain weight to it, has a certain texture. So we can describe the host to someone if someone's not Catholic and they've never had communion before, and you're with this person at a meal and they say to you, well, what's the host look like? You'll give description to it. You are explaining the externals. But according to philosophy, the host also has a soul. It's what makes the host a host is its soul, and that you can't show someone. You can't take it out and say, these are the externals, this is the soul. Now the wine is the exact same thing. The wine has externals. It has color and weight and volume and smell. It has all these things we can use to describe the wine. But according to philosophy, everything is made up of at least 9 accidents and just one substance, and that is its soul. Are you with me up to this point? Now again, I can't show you the soul of wine. But when you taste wine, sometimes you try to put its taste into description. And a really good wine, you say to yourself, the description I've given it has just incarcerated the true flavor of the wine. Because I did it an injustice, I actually can't convey its soul to someone because it has such a great taste. So it's soul. Going back to the idea of transubstantiation, in that word, the word trans is the first part of the word, substance. So what the church is saying is this, is that the soul of the bread, the soul of the wine has changed. Substance is the word for soul. Trans means to go across. So when you transport something, you're taking it from one spot to another. You're moving it from one location to another. So trans means to change the substance. So this is the theology of transubstantiation. When the host is brought down the center aisle by the folks who are bringing down the gifts and is placed up in the altar, I have at that point wine and bread. And the wine has a certain flavor, texture. It has all the externals I could use to explain the wine. And the bread has certain things I can use to explain the bread, the externals. And it has at that point soul of wine and soul of bread. You can't touch it, you can't see it, but it has a soul. When I travel through the words of the Eucharistic prayer, when I finally get to the end of the Eucharistic prayer, then what has changed? The externals have remained exactly the same. So when you come up for the wine, you come up for the bread, correctly speaking, you come up for the body, you come up for the blood, it looks exactly the same after the words of consecration as it did when I first got started. And it's true for every priest who's ever sang Mass. What has changed is the soul. So now when I get to the end of the Eucharistic prayer, and this is true for every priest, the soul of the host has changed. And now has the soul of the body of Christ. And that I cannot put in a cage. That I can't capture. I just have to believe that its soul of the host has changed to the body of Christ. And the wine substance, the soul of the wine, has now changed to the blood of Christ. Is everyone with me on that? It's a pretty thick concept. And you might be saying to yourself, but I sure would have liked to have more than that. But you can't have any more than that because it is to explain is the best we can do. In any article of faith, all we can do in this human arena is attempt to explain it, but we can never prove it. So the philosophy of transubstantiation attempts to explain, but cannot prove that the soul has actually gone across. It's changed. But it has. And so we use that terminology every so often, and we use it wrong. But after Mass, someone will say to me if I'm shaking hands, especially if I change the wine order to a different flavor. Someone might say as they're leaving, boy, I like the taste of that wine. But we didn't give a wine. When people come up for communion, I don't give any of you. None of you get wine. No one here does. Unless you go into the altar sacristy and try to sneak some, Larry. Other than that, no one gets any wine. And no one here gets any bread. What you receive when you come up is the body and the blood of Christ. And we believe it's such because we know that its soul has changed. Philosophy attempts to explain it. Philosophy can't prove it. I use philosophy as I was taught in the seminary to explain it. Again, I can't prove it. But what we have to say is, good Lord, I believe in my heart. That's what I accept. There's so many things we have to accept as Christians. And as Catholics, you just say, yes. Yes, I believe it. Is there a heaven? Yes, I believe it. No one's ever been there to come back and prove it that there is. But that's an article of faith. You just say, I believe it. I really, really do. And I'm comfortable with that. Does the bread and wine change the body and blood of Christ? You say, yes, I believe it, and I'm comfortable with that. That's true of all articles of faith, to believe without having it proven to you. Any questions? Okay. Well, I'll turn the evening over to Mary Ann and Mary Murphy, and they'll be sharing with us some considerations of our ministry.